Okay, today we're going to learn about Texas Indian groups and Native Americans. And first off, we're going to start with, y'all have a little slip on y'all's table, this right here. And you're going to write about what y'all think this is. On the slip of paper, what do you think it is? And what do you think it's used for? You can think of anything, you just write something down on the paper.
On this?
On the white piece, yes. Just tell me what y'all think it is.
How do you spell think?
Cheese.
Do your best.
Do your best, yes. And when you're done, flip it over and we'll come back to the picture book later on.
I don't know how to spell this word, but
It's okay. Okay, what do y'all think it is? Let me see your slip. Chopping wood.
I think it's X. That's what I wrote.
Okay, and it actually is a tomahawk, and tomahawks were used for hand combat, close-up hand combat. So, you know, like when they were warriors fighting, it was used for hand combat. And actually, this is usually like a stone instead of steel, and they would tie this around with leather. And then most of them would get like their pony's tail and put it on there for like strength and stuff. And the feathers, they would even put feathers on it. And the more different kinds of feathers you'd have, the more like spiritual you'd be. So like, you know, they had eagle feathers, they had hawk feathers, they had all kinds of different feathers, and they would like decorate them. So, you know, kind of like bling them out, like, you know, you bling stuff out, they would bling their tomahawks out. Okay, now we're gonna talk about some Texas Indian groups, and right here we're gonna talk about the Comanches, and they actually like lived along the Panhandle. And we're going to talk about the Karakoas, and they were along the Gulf Coast. And the Caddos right over here, we're going to talk about them. And then the Paleo Indians we're going to talk about, they're actually the first ones that came over the Berlin Strait Bridge. And they're like the first ones that were in Texas that they know of. And it says the Paleo Indians were the first inhabitants of North America. So they came across from Asia thousands of years ago. And does anybody know what an Indian is? Like what a Native American is? What about you, Meredith? You don't? Is anybody else? It's okay. They were actually nomadic hunters. Do you know what nomadic means? Nomadic hunter is?
What hunter means that?
What is a hunter? What is a hunter?
Like they hunt for stuff and they kill deer.
Exactly. The Indians, they were nomadic hunters because they followed animals they hunt around, and they would carry all their stuff with them. So they wouldn't, you know, just stay in one place. They would go where the hunt and the big game was. And the Plague Indians actually hunted mastodons, and they're famous for the Clovis spear, which is over here in our. This is actually a Clovis spear. You want to pass it around, and they're famous for that. The arrowhead. Does anybody know what an arrowhead is?
Yes.
What is an arrowhead?
The rocks that urban Indians used to use them like they would break them over rocks and they would use them.
Exactly. What about you?
Or like they would leave them behind for like, they would just leave them once they're done with the war. And
Exactly. Arrowheads were actually used to hunt and for warriors to kill, like when they were in war, they would use them. And the Caddo Indians, they lived in eastern Texas, which, you know, we're in East Texas, so, you know, they lived around here. And they were made up of multiple groups, and they used canoes. Y'all know what canoes are?
Yeah.
And they used them for transportation to get around. And they lived in these, like, grassy huts right here. They're kind of like domes, and they would use, like, hides and grass to cover them. And they farmed, they used, like, corn, beans, squash. So that's, we know where we farming. And they hunted deer, rabbits, and squirrels and small animals. And their weapon of choice was the bow and arrow. Has anybody ever seen a bow and arrow? What do you do with the bow and arrow?
You kill stuff or you just shoot at stuff.
Exactly. And they're actually created these, but stone axe, which they usually had the stone instead of the steel. And they left behind pottery. This is actually a piece of pottery. If you want to touch it, you can pass it around.
It feels like plastic.
And the Karankawas, they were actually along the Gulf Coast, like we were talking about, and they hunted marine life because, you know, they were right by the water. And they used canoes to get around, so, you know, that was the easiest way for transportation. And they lived in wigwams. They're like the dome shape, kind of like the Caddos lived in. And they would use, you know, hides, brush, and cloth to cover their homes. And they were actually known for cannibalism. I don't know if y'all know what cannibalism is. They would, like, capture their Indians and eat them, which is kind of gross. But they thought it would give them magical powers. So, you know, if they ate somebody, they were going to be strong. And it wasn't, you know, used to just to eat somebody. You know, it was used for important things. And their weapons were arrows, knives, and bows. And they were made from bone, wood, and shells. So, you know, they would get, like, these arrows, and they'd have an arrow top, and they would bring it down and have, like, a hook so they could go fishing with it. It's pretty cool. And that's actually them over there by the water. Now the Comanche, they were northwest Texas, and there were nomadic hunters. You know, the nomadic hunters, they're the ones that follow the game around. They were excellent horsemen, and they actually it transformed their culture because the Englishmen, you know, like Christopher Columbus, when they came over, they actually brought horses, and the Indians actually got them, and it changed, you know, their way of transportation because all they had was canoes. And they were ruthless warriors. These are the Indians that, you know, would come and attack settlers. And, you know, there's examples. They would skin feet. They would burn people alive and cut pieces out for a slow kill. So they were pretty scary. And these are actually the Indians. You know, they would kill buffalo, and they would use all this stuff for, like, the buffaloes. So, like, the beard was ornaments for weapons, hoofs, glue, and rattles. The stomach, they would make, like, cooking pots, like this piece of pot right here. It's pretty interesting. Now, we're going to do our skit. Do you want to do a skit? You know what a skit is? It's like a reenactment, so...
It's like fake, but it's fun.
Yes, exactly, and it's going to be a reenactment, and y'all are going to pretend that y'all are Indians and do a reenactment for us. Y'all ready?
No.
Okay, we're going to pick a group, and we're going to look some information up. Okay, let's say who do y'all want to be? The Caddos, Comanches,
I want to be these.
Comanches? Okay. Okay, so in our skit, we need to have 4 things. We need to know what food we get, what tools we use, and what kind of homes we live in, and where we're from. So, okay. What kind of tools did they use? What do you think? It says weapons, bows, arrows, and long spears.
So we put weapons.
Okay, let's put bow and arrows and long spears.
Where on tools? I need some help. On tools,
we're gonna, what kind of food? What are those?
Buffaloes.
Mm-hmm.
So they ate buffaloes.
Yes.
Food.
B-U-F-F-A-L-O.
Devin, just kidding.
And when they were scarce on food, they actually would have pieces of meat that would store under the ground that would be kind of like dehydrated. And dehydrated meat, you know, it turns into beef jerky. Who likes beef jerky? See, I mean, they actually, you know, had beef jerky back then for when they were scarce on food. So it's pretty neat the way they did things.
So we got there.
Okay, and what kind of homes did they live in?
They lived in teepees.
That's it. They lived in teepees.
I put 2 L's.
Just put
Homes. T-E-E.
teepee.
Okay, now we're gonna do our skit. Do y'all know how to do the skit?
No.
Okay, we're gonna act as if we're Indians. So, do you want me to act with y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get mine. Okay, since it says food, so in a reenactment, you know, you act as if you're the Indian and you're doing stuff. So why don't we act as if we're going on a hunt? We're gonna kill a buffalo, and we're gonna have our swords and we're gonna kill it. Okay, let's get up and do it.
Okay, so we're going on.
Going on our hunt. You got your bows?
Yes.
Okay, let's go look for some buffaloes. What are we gonna get the buffaloes for?
We're gonna go for food.
Okay, oh my gosh, look, it's a buffalo. Who's gonna kill it? Get ready, get ready.
Shoot it.
What are we gonna go home and make the buffaloes out of?
Meat.
Meat and what? We're gonna make clothes, meat, we're gonna make weapons, pottery, all kinds of stuff. That's all. Let's go home. Okay, now on the back of your slip, write one
I don't
thing.
have a slip. I'll just write.
Alright, here you go. Just write somewhere in your slip. Write one thing that you learned today from the Indians. Okay.
Devin.
Yeah, these are actually picture stories.
I stopped it at 15.
Is it done? And these are actually picture stories, and the Indians really didn't have an alphabet like we do